Konene, so jana kuna vile Matiangi alibaki ameenda kwa fixing the nation and kabaki ameulizwa juu ya his track record especially kikam to ignoring court orders and specifically stories za Miguna, because hii story ya Miguna inakani one of those stories that will never leave Matiangi, and you can even see that to a certain level he started getting frustrated because kama unashindwa kunaendaje like kuna time ilikuwa after the fake swearing in ya Raila. Kuna vile Matiangi aliamua that it's time for Miguna to be deported. Kwa sasa ikakuwa like Miguna had already done what, like rescinded his citizenship. He renounced his citizenship, so he needed to go. And with that what happened is of course watu wakaenda kotini, ikakuwa like umse aizitolewa, he's a true Kenyan citizen and nothing like that should happen to him. But what happened? He ended up being thrown out. This is the time that the famous "I'm not boarding" statement ilibaki imetoka. So around the time of course kuna watu walibaki wamerash kotini, alafu pia on behalf of Miguna, and the whole thing was like he should not be deported, and he was deported. And when he was being deported, one of the things that happened is this is the time that pia Moses Kuria alibaki ameingia kwa hiyo plane, and Miguna looked drugged, because if Miguna was sober of course and he decides to confront Moses Kuria, we know how that would have ended up. Najua ingekuwa worse for Moses Kuria than that ka blanket ile lichomaga miguu yake. But sasa back to Matiangi. So Matiangi alikuwa asked about this, and the interesting thing about him is he's one of those people who, the few people who don't know him well think he's this guy who's going to bring a lot of change. And then kuna the people who know him, and the people who know him know that this is the sort of guy who will come in and he's going to ignore court orders and is just going to be like impunity reloaded. Unimse aliapiaga kwa like one of those newspapers back in the days, and the what is it called, like the title was Lords of Impunity. So wacha tumsikize kidogo about his story vile aliansa, and then tutakabaki go back in time. Na kuna shinda kwa nini su go back in time is because we have to learn from the past. The last time there was an election in Kenya, kuna watu walikuwa wanasema that Ruto's past shows that he should not be trusted. And then other people wakasema no, let's forget the past, let's focus on the future. And then what happened? Saizi watu wanateta that Ruto lazima ishie. Na anaishia kwa nini? Because kuna extrajudicial killings. And apparently, and I'm going to repeat that, apparently this is the first time kumekuwa na extrajudicial killings Kenya. Okay. So, tusikiza Matiangi.
The deportation of Miguna Miguna against court orders, when you say, if it's something that was done in personal capacity, I know you said previously that you didn't receive the court order, but you tell us. Yes, Miguna, the courts did find that his deportation was unlawful. You were again Interior CS at the time. That was your docket to declare him, I forget the term, but basically...
Persona non grata.
Persona non grata. Is that the legal terminology? Yeah.
I don't know what I'll ever do to be able to deal with this Miguna matter once and for all.
Mic, yeah.
Once and for all. Now it has become a point of amusement for me, and it's amusement because the court has pronounced itself several times on the matter. The supposed violation of a court order, I have been a competent court of jurisdiction, the court of appeal at 3-judge bench, has found out that I did not violate the court order.
So hapa kibonga jia court order, and this was the interesting thing, is I liked the fact that he made it seem like this is the only court order that he's ever violated. But umse, when he was the Interior CS, because at that point someone like me was actively following him and actively following everything that was happening. And so I know like a lot of things that used to happen. He was just one of those very arrogant people who are literally above the law, and even used to harass Ruto. This is one of the reasons why straight after Ruto became president, what did Matiangi do? He had to run away for some time. Aone kama Ruto atamtafuta, Ruto hakuwa na shughuli naye, alafu akabaki amerudi. But he was impunity reloaded. And I decided to just check like a few of the cases zile amekuwa involved in. Just sasa ile unauliza like, a few of the cases was involved in that show his sort of character. So ilikuwa ni former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has been involved in several legal battles, with the most prominent ones being a contempt of court case, a lawsuit concerning compensation for internally displaced persons, and another related to the Ruaraka Land scandal. So why do you want to get rid of Ruto? He's corrupt, he's involved in extrajudicial killings, So let's start with extrajudicial killings. Who was the CS when River Yala was being loaded with bodies? Who was the CS? Okay. Who was the CS when trucks full of police officers were sent to Kisumu just before an election? Who was the CS when body bags were donated to Kisumu ama distributed in Kisumu? Yes? But let's ignore all that. Wacha tuendelee. So contempt of court case. In 2018, the High Court found Dr. Matiang'i along with former Immigration Principal Secretary Gordon Kihalangwa and former Inspector of General Police Joseph Boynet guilty of contempt of court. The case arose from their failure to comply with court orders, produce lawyer Miguna Miguna in court, and the High Court fined each of them 200,000 shillings, which I'm 100% sure they didn't pay. Tuendelee. However, in September 2025, the Court of Appeal overturned the decision. The appellate court ruled that the High Court had not followed the correct legal procedure for the contempt of court proceedings. You utacheki kwa hiyo nini, kwa the fixing the nation, they ended up talking about that, the fact that he was let off on a technicality. But this is the case I didn't even know about. IDP compensation lawsuit. Dr. Matiang'i, alongside Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho and former Head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua, was sued over a 6.85 billion compensation claim for former internally displaced persons, IDPs, from the 2007-2008 post-election violence. The lawsuit, filed by the Gusii Region IDP Steering Committee, alleges that the funds were misappropriated and diverted to non-IDPs through corruption and embezzlement. The case was filed at the Kisii High Court, and the petitioners were Dr. Matiang'i and his co-defendants to account for the missing funds. Okay. So, remind me again, why are we getting rid of Ruto? He's corrupt. Sir, this guy, kuna hii kesi hata sikuwa najua juu yake. Mi kesi nilikuwa najua juu yake is the other case I'm going to talk about, the Ruaraka Land scandal. So former State House digital strategist Dennis Itumbi filed a private prosecution against Dr. Matiang'i concerning this controversial sale of land in Ruaraka. The case revolves around the irregular acquisition of land for Ruaraka Primary School and Drive-In Primary, for which the government paid 1.5 billion. Itumbi alleges that Dr. Matiang'i, who was the Education Cabinet Secretary at the time, was involved in the irregular acquisition of the National Land Commission by the National Land Commission. The lawsuit accuses Dr. Matiang'i of abuse of office and corruption. An initial attempt by Itumbi to privately prosecute was dismissed in 2020 for not meeting the legal threshold, but he filed the case again in June 2023. So yeah, Ruaraka tuko tunajua, where the government ended up buying land that it already owned, but it paid 1.5 billion shillings. So that one we knew. What I didn't know about was the one about IDPs, 6.85 billion. So if you're talking about corruption, this guy has been mentioned in corruption cases. If you're talking about extrajudicial killings, he's vile nashinda nikisema, a lot of extrajudicial killings ended up happening, especially masai za Kisumu. Apart from Kisumu, of course, if you were to come to time ya COVID, we talk about Yasin Moyo, who was shot on a balcony. We talk about the Kianjokoma brothers. All this happened because he had a no-nonsense attitude. This is the same nonsense attitude that he went to Nakuru and said that hajali about people crying about human rights. So since the situation in Nakuru is so bad, we have to catch these thugs by all means necessary. What did the police do? What happened in Tanzania? They went into a house, got 4 young people, took them out and shot them. So let's be realistic. And kitu moja ile inaniudhi ni, just because you ignored atrocities that happened when you are supporting the government, right now, tafadhali shut them. Yes, you just need to shut up. Why? Because sisi tuko tunajua these things were happening. And that's why we can point them out. That's why we can tell you, like, yes, if you want to remove Ruto, this guy is not the option. He is not the option. He is not the option. Yes, he is going to be worse than Ruto. That's something as a put chini. And I won't say extrajudicial killings will zitaruka kabisa. Court orders zitakuwa disregarded. I doubt even if podcast will exist. That's the sort of person that we are dealing with. So all this, he's the only one who can do it. No, you do not have to break the law to enforce the law, if that makes sense. Alafu tumalizie na the Africog NGO board case. While Dr. Matiang'i was the acting Interior Cabinet Secretary during the controversy surrounding the NGO Coordination Board attempt to shut down Africog, the search results are okay. So hapa I think nini yangu iko niambia what he was. His role was primarily one of intervention where he suspended the NGO's board's actions to allow for an investigation. Africog kona jua nini? Africog were part of the people that filed the lawsuit against Uhuru Kenyatta's win, when that first win was dismissed, and then we ended up with that Tanzania type election where Uhuru won with like 96%. Hiyo time ya Africog, who was involved? Of course, sasa yeye. So that's the sort of person we are dealing with. And it's one thing to claim that Ruto is the worst. And it's one thing to claim that we need to replace Ruto. But one thing that should not be allowed is anyone but Ruto. That's some bullshit. That's not the right way to do things. You have to show me that you're going to be very different. You have to show me that you're going to respect the Constitution. You have to show me that you're going to respect human life. If it reaches a level where during COVID the police were literally walikuwa nashika wase wanatoa kwa basi wanawapiga. Why? Because this guy was the CS and he was controlling the police. Never be lied to that the police have ever been independent. The police act under the IG. Now the IG and report to the interior was CS. Yani wa internal security, the CS were internal security. Alafu apart from the CS was internal security, of course, there is the president. But the police in Kenya serves the executive. They do not serve the citizens. And when Matiang'i was on the winning side, he did some damage. And it's very interesting when hata nikimonaga akisema like, I've never seen such deaths. I've never. Alafu Raya zikapale za alafu naambia Raya like, no, in 2017 we had to be told that we'll be arrested. Same thing that's happening in Tanzania. That's what we were told. Why? Because there was a massacre in Kisumu. Oh, no, that was different. Those were protesting because of votes. But if Ruto decides to, we will protest. Ours is different. Shut the Okay, sawa. Kuna reason hivyo, lazima unyamaze. Lazima ujue yako if your grievances are not different from the next person's grievances. So this is the sort of person tunadili na yeye. But kitu nibambaga na umseni, of course anajua the average Kenyan person will want justice depending on which side they are. If you're on the winning side, they don't care. If they're on the losing side, now all of a sudden justice is important. So wacha tusikie. At least vile alitry kuwiggle out hapa, I felt like fixing the nation while try kumpin down.
The matter has been explained several times. Now, I don't know why we keep going back to it. I think the populist nature of it sometimes prohibits people from understanding the matter in its own context. I am the first one to tell you that I deported a lot of people as Minister for Interior. Many of them, for criminal activities, non-Kenyans who were engaged in all manner of monkeying around and so on. The case of Miguna was fairly straightforward, and as I've explained before, I actually cannot see any violation. And I would like to ask journalists, including you guys, before you address this matter, please spare yourself some time. Go to the files and read some of the existing literature on this matter. Read the judgment by the High Court by Justice Lenaola on citizenship acquisition. Talk to some people at the Immigration Department on, when the new constitution kicked in, how will you regain your citizenship if you had renounced your citizenship?
So hapo ndo inakuwaga the contentious issue. The contentious issue is, had Miguna renounced his citizenship? Miguna alikuwa ame-renounce citizenship yake? I don't think so. And the fact that Miguna had been to Kenya, because don't forget, in 2007, Miguna was in Kenya. So he was there. He was involved in the elections. Nakumbuka when the country was burning, I remember a very famous interview yake on Al Jazeera. So then akarudi tena. And after arudi tena, I think even 2017 he was supporting Uhuru because alikuwa amekosana na Raila. So that time, even when he was launching his book Peeling Back the Mask, he could go in and get out of Kenya the way he wanted. But all of a sudden in 2018, they discovered that he'd renounced his citizenship. If you can't smell the bullshit, you can't smell the bullshit. Nacheki. So, tuendele.
The process is there. We've gone through that drama, I don't know how many times in my life. That piece of paper that is prescribed, to this day, by the way, even as I sit here before you today, Mariam, that is the same piece of paper people feel to regain their citizenship. It has never changed because it's provided for in the law. You cannot circumvent it. You cannot go around it. Right. And so I just don't see what my crime is on this matter, yet people keep coming back to it and so on and so forth. I guess I have many other weaknesses that people could dwell on.
Yes.
So find them and dwell on them, because that is
so find them and dwell on them, and I've found them. Nacheki, I've told you about the extrajudicial killings. I've told you about the Ruaraka Land case. I've told you about IDP's compensation. I didn't even know about that. That's how much, if you start to dig in, you start wondering, like, how different is this guy from Ruto? I think even before, if you had to go and check Ruto's scandals, na saisi safishi Ruto radam, I'm just stating fact. Let's go fact for fact. Ukiangalia Ruto scandals before presidency, I don't think there were this many billion of cases before he became the DP. Nacheki. Because, damn, Ruaraka, 1.5 billion. IDPs, 6.85. Like, damn.
It's a matter that has been settled and sorted out.
So when this,
we go into
the contempt of court ruling was overturned, but on procedure, not on merit, if I'm correct. On procedure, not on merit, meaning that it was the way it was
done and handled.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the not on the merit of the case, but on the procedure of the case.
The technicality.
Yeah, on a technicality.
The process used to convict Dr. Matiangi.
Yes.
And his co-appellants was fatally flawed.
Was fatally flawed, not on the merit of the actual deportation case.
Askia, not on the merit. So this is the sort of person that we are dealing with, and this is someone that, if you dig into his history, especially, the main thing that you'll find is a contempt of court. And contempt of court is very dangerous, because the only thing that saves even Kenya right now from being a dictatorship, the only thing that has made, for example, ile Cyber Crimes Act saizi haiko enforced is because of the Kenyan courts. So the minute that you have someone who just decides, like, you know what, I'm not going to listen to, I'm going to ignore court orders, that's the minute it becomes dangerous. Ekonene, nimeinterrupt show kukuremind juu ya Lemfi. Kama uko US ama Canada na unataka kutuma do Kenya, register kwa Lemfi ukitumia promo code Ekonene. Hii itakuguarantee $20 cashback on your first $100 transaction. Alafu pia time una register, make sure umetick the 2 checkboxes za notifications ndio ukireceive info about amazing offers through newsletters. Na pia usijali, Lemfi hawatumagi hizi letters za, yani unajua, like messages za kipumbavu. Pia usisahau, every time una transact $50 and above, una earn points. Na the more una transact, the more points you earn, and you can redeem them as cash ile time unatuma pesa. Alafu pia kitu nanibamba kabisa ni saizi ukitumia Lemfi mzabaki umelipa pay bills na till numbers directly. That means mzabaki umehandle bills za maparo wako ukiwa hizo maside za States ama maside za Canada. Alafu pia we mwenyewe as a Lemfi user, baki umetafuta ile button imeandikwa get USD $20, ubaki umeinvite mabeste zako, na ukiinvite mabeste zako on their first $100 transaction unapata pesa ngapi? $20 cashback. So unangoja nini? Baki umechangamka, ingia Lemfi. Lemfi, international payments for everyone. Ekonene. So, wacha to go back in time. Tuone vile hizi stories za contempt of court zilikuwa reported, and how this guy was being accused of violating the constitution, and some people wanted him out. Najua, wacha tusikize.
Now, the National Assembly has received a petition seeking the removal of Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i from office. The petition was filed by Mohamud Sheikh, who is a resident of Wajir County. He accuses Matiang'i of violating the Constitution and ignoring court orders, saying that makes him unsuitable to hold a public office.
So nacheki, and don't forget, this is not a president, this is a mayor CS. Right now, ask yourself, who's that powerful CS? If you come to the Interior Ministry, Kindiki was not this powerful. ikikam to the interior ministry, even when majuzi nani anaitwa nani Murkomen akisema tutandikwe risasi tukiwa watu 10 watu 15, he was not this powerful. This guy was powerful. I don't know, but he somehow Uhuru had given him all the power, and I can't blame Uhuru. This guy helped Uhuru to have a peaceful second term. Remember, every time watu wako like, oh, whatever happened in Tanzania cannot happen in Kenya. It happened in Kenya, not on the scale of Tanzania, but it happened in Kenya. A kid like Baby Pendo was killed in the house. A 6-month-old baby was killed in the house. These things have been happening. Just because some Kenyans have ignored them does not mean they've not happened. So, who was at the helm that time? Neumse. Na sasa hii ni 2018, after the atrocities of 2017. Wacha tuendelee.
After the High Court found Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i guilty of contempt of court and slapped him with a fine of 200,000 shillings to be deducted from his salary, the events of last week have come back to haunt him. And Tuesday afternoon, the clerk of the National Assembly received a petition seeking to oust Matiang'i from office, according to Mohammed Sheikh, a businessman from Wajir County, and who has signed the petition. Matiang'i has failed to uphold his oath of office to defend the Constitution. He says Matiang'i has continued to defy court orders, which goes against Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity.
Unatiketa hapo, Matiang'i has continued to defy court orders. Imeandikwa mara mbili jo. Hira yako ina defy court orders. Like, I think during Matiang'i's time and Uhuru, the two of them, that's the time I realized how powerful the executive is. Like, they used to use court orders to wipe their asses. They never respected court orders. And that's, kila watu sahau ni the past dictates the present and the present dictates the future. The fact that they used to handle court orders like that, and there was a deputy seeing. So Ruto was seeing, was like, okay, so I don't need to follow these things. Okay. Extrajudicial, I can do it if I can justify using businesses. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Go and look at the speech, za Ruto, when Ruto is talking about protesters. Then at the same time, look at speech za Matiang'i akibonga juu ya protesters. The same speech. We have to protect property and lives. Have to protect property and lives. Property and lives. It's all about property. No one cares about human lives. But tuendele.
Hence bringing disrepute to the Jubilee administration. Claims that have been supported by MPs affiliated to the opposition.
Now we shall zero down on individuals, like the CS for Interior. There's a man that should be taken and be jailed. In fact, it does not qualify now to hold a public office. He's already violated the Constitution that he's taken oath to protect.
So nacheki. So this was this guy. And then wacha tuangalie tena, like around the same time, because one of the things that he was known for doing was defying court orders. So one of the court orders, of course, pia alikuwa amedefy just the same year, like earlier in the year, ilikuwa ni story ya kushut down TV screens. And there was a court order, and he was like, vile nilisema, hii ni ya kupanguza haga. Let's keep it moving. And I'll keep saying, he was a mayor CS. He was not a president. Try and imagine this guy as a president. Damn. Ruto as a minister, kuna kuwaga na photo yake akiwa kotini jo akisikiza corruption case. You have to look at these things. And Ruto, he became this president that he is. The president that thinks everyone is foolish and blah, blah, blah. But at least during that time, he was humble enough to at least appear mbele ya court. Okay, wacha tusikize.
All right, now a majority of television viewers in Kenya continue to remain in the dark with regards to watching their favorite programs and news pieces following a decision by the Communication Authority of Kenya to ignore a court order directive to switch back on the signals for the first TV stations. The blackout comes on a day a fiery confrontation was witnessed at the main entrance of the Communications Authority office, pitting activist Okia Omtata and security as the activist was trying to serve the body with the court papers.
So kicheki article, unaona vizuri kabisa imeandikwa Matiang'i defies court. So this was in 2018, and this is what I'm going to say. Like, yes, we want change, but I feel like this time we should learn from the past. And the past is showing us that we'll end up with a president. If this was to happen, I don't think it's going to happen, because I think saizi the front runner, if you are to ask me, I'll still stick to Kalonzo unless something drastic happens. I think Kalonzo ndio iko kwa your front line to be Nini, and so I don't see this happening. But if this guy was to, God forbid, end up as the president, I'd expect extrajudicial killings. I'd expect all such police to be still above the law, just protect the executive. Why? Because he learned from Uhuru. Najua watu try kusafishia Uhuru rada, but Uhuru did a lot of damage. First of all, loans, akachukua loans sijui ngapi. Expressway ni yeye anai-own, tunadanganywa ni ma-Chinese. Then you have Northlands, ile ilikuwa ni money from Eurobond. So Uhuru did a lot of damage, nacheki. So, but now, even this guy is Uhuru's candidate. So that should also show you something. But yeah, wakuna sata kwa like, mwafu, wena umseni personal. Yes, it's personal because I used to follow, man. And I always feel sad that there were a bunch of Kenyans that never followed what used to happen back in the days. And they don't know how many people died, najua, needlessly. The Kianjokoma brothers, wamefunga butchery, wanaenda tu home. But since Matiangi alikuwa amesema curfew lazima ikue, everyone has to be home by what? They just got killed like that. Najua. Then where can we go to? Tukienda kwa River Yala, Baby Pendo, Stephanie Mora, like the names are there. The history is there. This is the time that I say you need to Google. Love, this is the time that if you are pissed off with me utakuwa Google aisemagi ukweli. Google aisemagi ukweli. But hii kitu kama imekuudhi, just think about it this way. Kama imekuudhi, just tell yourself that mwafa melipona Ruto. Then you'll feel good. Sawa, eko nene.